Welcome back, friend. We are now walking through the 1-8, the channel of inspiration, a design of a creative role model. This is a creative channel. And this creativity is about being an example. So this is about actually expressing one's self. This is a projected channel, so invitation and recognition are so important. It is in the now, it's empowering, it's knowing, it's about hearing, it's acoustic. There's a creative leadership that happens here. And why creative? Because this is an example. This isn't do as I say, this is actually do as I do. This is the example. I am doing this, I am walking this direction in my own creative muse. And I'm doing that through creativity and the creative self-expression that I hold so that I can bring the contribution. Now, I'm using an example of action, but really what is here is a lot of verbal communication because we're speaking through the throat center, and that throat center is the manifestation and the expression, but remember, the manifestation needs to have a motor. So this really is the verbal expression of contribution. There's melancholy here, and the central expression of the individual theme of empowerment. So the tantric expression of I contribute to direct, to move in the direction that we all need to move in. So I know I can help out, I know I can contribute, I know I can demonstrate or not. This is the unique self-expression, the individual empowerment. There's certainty here and uncertainty here. This is a creative trait and a leadership trait. So this expresses its creative role model identity by articulating its contribution. In order to empower others with one's contribution, one has to be very skillful in the way in which one expresses that. This channel needs to demonstrate, shows up a lot in the Penta, and I'm going to talk about that. It demonstrates its identity, and in doing so, empowers others. It ends up being a deeply mutative force. Now, in this channel, we have the 1, which is the artist, and the 8, which is the talent scout. And it is so fascinating because you see a lot of this particular channel, the inspiration, in musicians and in dancers and that kind of stuff, because they are literally using their identity and expressing that contribution out, and they're being an example of it. So you hear like a lot of songs and stuff are from experience. Here's my example of this particular, song, or I'm expressing my creative contribution, my creative self-expression through this dance. So the expression of identity in the now, and the expressing the creative potential of direction in the human life. So remember, we're moving from the 60 to the 3, which is this pulse. Then we move from the 14 to the 2. This is the gas pedal for the direction. And now we get to actually express that direction. So while someone with this channel demonstrates that he contributes best while remaining an individual. An example is the entertainer that let's just take a look. I'm not sure what that's supposed to say. The entertainer really brings the inspiration. It's not learning how to, and it inspires you and empowers you to learn the instrument because they're so inspirational. They're an example of it. It is inspiring for anyone that meets this channel. The self can be projected into the world as long as it is invited to express itself. When individuality is allowed to flourish, then we know that there will be an abundance of mutative potential. If we're always trying to hamper the individuality and the individual expression, we're scared of the mutation. That's what the collective does. That's what the tribe does. They try to hamper it and temper it. But the moment that we let the individual flourish, that's when the potential for the mutation can take place. We see this a lot as well in how people literally will tattoo their bodies, they will pierce their bodies, they will dye their hair, they will wear particular clothing for their own style. They don't follow the status quo. They bring a mutative energy. And then what happens is, the fashion industry grabs onto that and they create this style and they bring it to the masses. So, for example, ripped jeans. Like as a kid, we always had ripped jeans. Of course we did. We were on a farm. We worked hard. We played hard. Ripped jeans were a thing. However, they weren't a fashion statement. Basically, they said, oh yeah, you can't afford new clothes. So ripped clothing was like a taboo. Don't wear that out in public. Don't demonstrate that. But now, the mutative potential is, hey, let's wear all of these ripped clothes. Let's wear all these wore out clothes. And the fashion industry ran with it. So the individuality empowers others by bringing them into the now. This is the great power of knowing, to empower that knowing in the now. Being invited to be an example, they wait to be recognized for their vocal skills. The whole key to wholeness in an individual's life is for them to be able to be themselves without being influenced by others. The new mutative direction can be expressed as a living example. Explaining the individuality is everything. That's what the whole design is always moving to the throat. And if they cannot explain the knowing, the mutation can never land. If an individual has no way of expressing and vocalizing and explaining what they know, the mutation is dead in the water. Explaining is everything. And when we look at the individual gates here, we have 4 individual gates. We have 6 collective gates and 1 tribal. The collective is always more noisy than the individual or the tribe. So explaining your individuality in amongst all of the collective noise is something that needs to be able to be recognized. So what's really important with this particular channel is, what I want you to recognize is that the 8 is a part of the form. Anything in the throat is literally manifesting civilization, manifesting form. But the one is actually, again, another Sphinx gate. And the Sphinx gates are direction. So the 13, this witness that is looking backwards, it is witnessed its reincarnations so that it can bring that consciousness into this human experience. Then the second gate is all about oh, okay, we're receptive to using this consciousness and now taking that consciousness field and creating a direction for the formation of humanity. Then we have the 7 that says, okay, now that we have brought consciousness and form together, let's bond. And we're going to bond based off of what the future patterns hold and the health and wellness of the physical body. And then we have the 1, and the 1 says, hey, let your creative self-expression be the number 1 step to mutation in this incarnation. The Sphinx gates are very, very powerful, and they begin each quarter. So direction is perspective, the direction and the perspective, as I talked about in the 14.2, direction and perspective of that direction provide us with the direction that we are moving. Then the Penta. So in business, when we look at this in business, this is about implementation in the 1, using this creative self-expression. And then it is about the public relations, selling. We have to now talk about our services and talk about, all of our wonderful people and all of the resources, and bringing that up into saying, now is the time to purchase this wonderful product. You're attracting the attention of the public so that you can be seen, so that you can be noticed. And in the family, this is about actually the presentation of the family and the demonstration of the family. What's the presentation? Oh, we all wear the exact same sweater for the Christmas card. And what's the demonstration? When we are out in public, there is no back talk. There is no behavior that is outside of perfection. Or it could be totally different. We present ourselves completely uniquely, dress up how you need to, through your own creative self-expression. And the demonstration is honoring your individuality. Does that happen? Not very often, because the Penta is really concerned about materialism and more and functioning. So is the family functioning? This is what the demonstration is about. It doesn't want to show dysfunction, it wants to show function. Same with the Penta. The public relations department isn't going to tell you about all the bad stuff that's happening behind the scenes. It's going to, speak to you about, this glory and blah, 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 blah. It's about style when we get to the 8th gate, and you guys will see that. So the first gate, this creative self-expression. So the great gate of creativity and represents the direction of the individual in the world. This is the place of an individual's examination of their own journey. It is about expressing themselves and empowering others to live as your own unique person, as your own unique life. This is the artist. That's what artists do. As long as they're not, kowtowing to the collective, this is what an artist does. It literally empowers others to live their own unique life. The creative self-expression is not about repeating someone else's truth. It is not about being like anyone else. This is the creative self-expression of your own self. These are the artists, that use this creative self-expression. The first gate is the beginning of the quarter of mutation. Self-expression brings mutation. Expressing uniqueness is simply expressing mutation. We are receptive in the second gate, and then we are creative in the first gate. These are primal forces in our lives. Receptive and creative. These are primal forces. Even though you will hear Ra say, we are not creative beings. Well, right here, it literally tells us, receptive to our higher knowing and our own creative self-expression are primal forces in our life. Mutation knows no boundaries. Mutation follows no structure or order. Mutation is something that simply just jumps. The potential to manifest inspiration is unlimited because the mutation transcends or can transcend limitation. You have a drive to, and a deep need to focus on expressing yourself in unique and creative ways. When happily absorbed in doing your own thing, you are not aware that you are attracting the attention of others. It is while you are being true to your creative process that what you are doing and how you are doing it has its greatest ability to empower others. As you exemplify new ways of expressing your authentic self, you empower others to consider new perspectives or new ways of being in the world. You may even change their creative direction. Your creativity inspires others by example. And when we walk through this, so the creation is a primal force. The energy potential to manifest inspiration without limitation. So isn't it interesting that, we're talking about energy, we're talking about manifestation, and here we are in the G Center. This isn't about bending to the collective. This is about standing in the truth of who you are. And the truth only comes from individual. It's the 61st gate, inner truth. Again, Pluto has been here for a very long time. This recording is in 2020. It's going to be there until, on and off until 2021 or 2022. I can't remember now exactly. But inner truth is an individual process. And that's why the artist is so interesting, because someone's art may or may not speak to me. It may or may not be, resonating for a direction for me to move. I don't have the first gate. Don't have the second gate. But I am highly conditioned in those two areas because I have the 8 and the 14. So the writing across of the Sphinx, direction is the purpose, either your own or empowering others through example. The juxtaposition of creative self-expression, a stream of creative self-expression flows through you. And the right angle cross of defiance, defying anything that can hamper your creative self-expression. We see this. We see this because the individual is stubborn. The individual is bringing mutation, and they're stubborn. They are going to fight for their own creative self-expression. So creation is independent of will. The moon exalted is a symbol of adaptation. Time is everything. Self-expression, which has its special timing. And instability leads to distortion. Here, patience is a virtue and revolution a vice. Creative instability unless there is patience. We have to have timing. That is correct. Because if it isn't, this is where we find all of the resistance. We become very egotistical, we become very willful, and we push against the timing. If the collective cannot recognize the mutative qualities that we bring, they cannot accept the mutation. Love is light. Venus exalted is a symbol of beauty. The required harmony between established values and ideals that enriches inspiration. Self-expression conditioned by ideals and values. Desires and passions have their place, but not at the expense of creation. Self-expression limited by desires and passion. So we have all kinds of desires and passion. Desires and passion move from the root over to the solar plex. That's not what this is. This is not collective. The beauty of this is to stand in your individuality. That's what love is. That's what light is. The energy is sustained in the third line for creative work. Mars exalted is a symbol of profound need for self-expression. The deep need for self-expression. Material forces can disrupt creativity and lead to over-ambition. Materialism disrupts creativity. The individual really is not too hell-bent on materialism. Even though the 14th gate is all about resources and generating resources, the individual is not so willing to leave their individuality behind for materialism. And there's an energy here. Stubborn tension that brings out this creative self-expression. 4, aloneness is a medium creativity, the tension of inner light. The earth exalted as a symbol of personal perspective, manifested outside the influence where the potential magic of inspiration is diluted. Creativity that must develop outside the influence, where the potential magic of inspiration is diluted, the need to influence that abandons aloneness and limits creativity. 4th lines, remember, aloneness is a part of their whole role on this planet. They're designed to network, and yet inside that network, be alone. Tension of inner light. Well, the 39 and the 38, we've already gone over this. The right angle cross of tension. There is a tension there. The individual energy is designed to bring attention, a tension, so that other people can tune to themselves. The 5, the energy to attract society. Mars exalted as a powerful ego endurance, the power and drive to stay with the creative process. The energy to attract society. Of course they are. There's always a projection onto the 5th line. And here, the projection is, hey, these guys are creative. So where eccentricity can handicap endurance, eccentricity that, though attractive, will limit the drive. Whether or not you feel creative or any of that, you will be projected on that you are creative, that you have your own self-expression. And what you'll do is you'll attract in society, and it can be good or it can be bad, depending on what mutation is going to land. So here it says they attract society. They can be very valuable in that sense. Because they attract society, they can get mutation out into the world. Unfortunately for them, that attraction comes so quickly in life that they rarely get a chance to mature as creative forces. So what they end up doing is just being able to handle through the ego those forces that are constantly trying to interfere with them. So do you understand what this is saying? 5th lines are always projected on. And lots of times they are unable to mature into the highest expression of that hexagram. So fifth lines are attracting, individuality is attracting. And what may happen is that they bend to the collective and, not bring the mutation that they're. And then we have the sixth line, the objectivity, clear assessment of creative value, clarity in creative expression. The risk that subjective appraisal will result in disappointment and creative frustration. Subjectivity in self-expression that may lead to creative frustration. The sixth line is designed to be objective. It really is this acceptance that the creative self-expression is there. It is there through patience. Patience that the timing will happen when the timing needs to happen. Patience that melancholy will eventually break and subside. Patience that the mutation will be brought forth in the correct timing. Now let's move on to the 8. The gate of contribution, this is holding together. So the voice of I can contribute or not. Expresses its difference and leads by example. Individuality is not the best, it is different. Even though individuality of the 51-25 brings this competitiveness, this isn't about being the best. This is about being different. This is about standing out from the crowd. This is not about taking action to contribute. This is a verbal contribution. This is the talent agent. Expressing direction in the present. Remember, when we're talking about the throat is an action function. It's a manifestation function. However, the function here, when we're pointed down to the identity, is to literally verbalize and express your own identity. So holding together and assimilating what needs to be explained is how you make a contribution. Assimilation is in the 23rd gate. Holding together here is understanding that the individual mutative process that really is driven through the pulse, and the driver is literally the monopole. It is holding us together. So how can we, as unique beings, with our unique monopole, contribute? How can this holding together of our illusion be an example for others so that you can explain it and so that you can empower them and be empowered yourself? Your contribution will come either through a public display of your own specific style, direction, and creation, or by empowering and publicly promoting others. You are drawn toward what is novel and innovative, and you will find yourself attracting other people's attention to what you are marketing or promoting. Once you get people's attention, you can lead by example. If others wish to follow, they will. This is how you quietly impact others and shift their orientation over time. The leadership path of recognizing and displaying what is unusual and unique can be a lonely one, as you must first be recognized and then invited to publicly display and endorse what you know to be of value. So when we walk through the 8th gate, the basic worth realized in contributing individual efforts to group goals. The whole point of the individual is to bring mutation to the collective. Even though it's difficult for it to always share, because it needs to be recognized and it needs to be invited. That is our whole worth as individuals, is to absolutely help the collective progress. Right angle cross of contagion, making contributions that enhance humanity by conveying your individuality. The juxtaposition of contribution, contributions that have enduring value. And the left angle cross of certainty. Life is meant for uncertainty, and you contribute your knowing to ease the anxiety, because when people are uncertain, they get a little anxious. So it's about you being able to hold together in your own separateness, in your own individuality, to ease the anxiety of others and contribute to those goals. So, first line, honesty. The truthful acceptance of limitations and recognition. 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 That it can only be transcended through sharing. Recognition. Why do I say that a few times? Because the incarnation process allows us to be connected to the consciousness field. Our cognition is what we have. So being honest and truthful and accepting the limitation of the actual human design. And then the cognition that the way we transcend is through sharing. So the awareness that the whole is always greater than the sum of its parts. Knowing that creative self-expression must be honestly communicated and shared. The withdrawal, the fear of losing individuality in a group environment. The design to share creativity at the expense of individuality. The second line, service. The highest good, to serve selflessly. The potential to be an example through unselfish expression. The earth and detriment, where reward is a prerequisite for service. The willingness to be an example for a price. The three is the phony, the acceptance of style and not a substance of communal actions. The perfected and rarely detected superficial intimacy, the example as an expression through style, not substance. A shallowness that underestimates others and overestimates its own ability to contribute its deception without detection. And over-reliance and unfounded confidence in style. So this is, the third line is a part of my design, twice. That phony energy, that really truly is also seen in the superficiality and in the individuality of the 20. We as individuals, and I have a lot of individual activation in my design, we are not designed to be influenced by other people. We are designed to be fully connected to our higher source and let the wisdom of source flow through us. So there is a style here. I bring you my teachings in a particular style, mostly through the expression of power. And that is my style. I am not going to take you into rabbit holes. However, I will introduce them to you, bring them to you with my style, and you get to go down the rabbit hole. That's how I contribute. 4 is respect, the gift of mutually recognizing the contributions of others, and particularly the acknowledgement of those led by example. The uncompromising drive to assimilate, the drive to contribute and to be an example to and for others. In a group where limitation is transcended, reason alone cannot predict individual worth. As an example, the acknowledged leader of an athletic team is not necessarily the most talented, a gift of contribution that is not conditioned by limitations. Respect your individuality. It's okay to have a style. Third lines, we are bumped into all the time. We need to have a style, and it's going to adapt. And when we're of service, when we can assimilate and be of service and be completely honest and truthful, we will bring mutation. And the Dharma here, holding together, does not exclude eventual separation. Successful union after a proper term will encourage separation. The fledgling, once mature, is expected to leave the nest. This is right action, which does not harm the integrity of the union. This is the teacher. Contribution is part of the process of sharing that accepts and expects limitation. Exemplified in teaching. So, teachers bring a contribution verbally and through their own inspiration, through their own role model energy. Mutation can be good, mutation can be bad. So the parent that cannot let go of the child, understanding only that its authority is being challenged. Contribution as an end in itself that neither accepts nor expects limitation. Exemplified by the parent that cannot let go of the child. And communion. I love this communion because the certainty which grows out of harmony. We need to be in harmony with our own truth, be honest with ourselves, be of service to self and others, to allow for our own style, our own creative self-expression to be respected so that we can teach. So the awareness of patterns that ensure correct timing, the gift of knowing when to contribute creatively. Doubt, which may engender regret even in the most ideal circumstances. Understanding in timing, uncertainty in timing, and regret despite circumstances. So if there's no invitation, if there's no recognition, let go of the timing. Let go. Let go. The timing will present itself. So what I love is that you can begin to recognize how these inspirational role models show up for you. Those that are walking the talk, those that are, honest, and they're bringing their own creative self-expression to the contribution. And if you don't have any of this in your design, just watch it. If you do have it in your design, take a look at your keynotes. How does it show up? Does it feel kind of negative at times? Like, hey, I have the phony. There's a style, not always a substance. So it's about going, there's some things that, kind of rub me a little bit. How does that show up for you? What does the not-self mind want to do? What is the physical body doing? I just open my mouth and stuff comes out. I have no idea what's going to come out. I prepare all these slides and I have absolutely no clue how they're going to be presented, what my mind is going to say, what my channel is going to say. I have absolutely zero idea what's going to take place. So just watch the stuff play out. Don't make excuses and just allow for it to be what it is. All right. We will now move up to the energy in the head and the ajna.